Are you tired of gunfights that just won't end? Always trying to shoot your opponent and missing, or having a shot fly over your head and spook you back down below cover? Well, me too. If you have any suggestions on how I can sharpen my aim or something like that, send me a telegram at 125 Colorado Way, and maybe we can become pen pals or something.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes.
Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert.
This is back country.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo being pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, she's such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso.
Horror.
Hello, and welcome to Horror Movie Talk Plus. That's right, folks. We've now transcended genre boundaries and sometimes cover other movies. Sexy movies, cool movies. We started out as a horror movie review show, but now we have become action movie curious. Maybe we have a little drama kid living inside us. Where are the anime allies, I ask you? Well, let's find out. Come with me. We'll go on a journey together. Make sure you rate and review and subscribe on iTunes. Full video available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Make sure to share. Also, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk, the equivalent of the adult section at your video rental store. If you want to add your pee to the community pool, a phrase that Bryce was unwilling to say in front of his feminine friend last week because I assume he was embarrassed. Go to
I think that's the corniest part of our...
Go to
I'm making adjustments, all right?
Or call 682-253-4468. I got a booger on my nose. As always, we have Fart Simpson crammed into the production booth. I'm me, and across from me sits Island Boy Bruce Henson. Say hello.
Hey, everybody.
We have a great show for you today. We will be reviewing The Old Way, a Nicolas Cage movie. That's right. Not only does it have Nicolas Cage, it has the ice cream man himself. That's right. Ron Howard's little brother, Clint Howard. And not in a small role either. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. How does that work? You'll find out. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers, take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the movie. And then we will be doing Horror Movie Horrors, a little bit where we take your voicemails on the actual podcast, not on one of these Horrors only podcasts. That's what I'm saying. We're getting back into it. How you doing today, Bryce? You doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. My back hurts. I'm annoyed that I had to watch a terrible movie last night. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good.
Wow. Okay. Good. Yeah, no, it's good it's good to keep them, keep them on their toes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we watched The Old Way on Hulu, and we're given a movie with a shaky start that made me wonder what I was getting into. My synopsis for this Old Way movie is an old gunslinger named Colton Briggs, played by, you guessed it, none other than Nic Cage himself, is forced back into the fray when a series of unfortunate events leave him with very little to live for. His daughter, Brooke, played by Ryan Kiera Armstrong, joins him on his quest and learns how to navigate life as Colton's kin. Everyone gets more lead than they bargained for. My review for this movie goes a little something like, Nic Cage is enough to get me to watch most movies. He's strange, interesting, and massively talented. I enjoy most movies where he stars. The Old Way is not really an exception. This movie fumbles tremendously in the first 20 minutes. which really shook my belief that it could be good or worthwhile to a large degree. I was concerned about what I had signed up for. The dialogue, acting, and concept in the opening seems to miss the mark by a country mile. It felt ham-handed, simple, and very cringe. Once the second act starts, things come back around, and the concepts and characters show that they are much more than what previously met the eye. The old way wrestles with concepts of humanity, loss, the monsters within, our birthright, and revenge. These themes are ones that I've seen Cage embrace in a lot of his roles. In particular, one that stands out just in recent memory is Mandy, although a lot less with humanity and a lot more with revenge. That was really, I guess, kind of just a straightforward revenge movie. The characters are interesting and have fun dialogue, and it's set in an authentic feeling Western backdrop. Colton Briggs' story of wrestling with his apparent lack of humanity and his life of crime catching back up to him is one that I feel a lot of people can resonate with. The hope or lack thereof for the next generation and having to deal with the sins of their forefathers is an age-old one, and that's why it resonates so deeply with me. The Old Way is a solid entry into a somewhat lackluster genre of modern westerns, and I'll explain what I mean when I say that. And it's one that feels more deeply connected with the classic westerns of the 40s and 50s, more so than its modern counterparts. What I mean when I say lackluster genre of modern westerns, there have been some very strong entries into the Western genre in the last 15 years, but they are exceptions to the rule. It's
not a popular genre.
It's not
people
a popular
don't make
genre.
westerns,
right? It's just not a popular genre anymore.
I mean, that's weird to say because, like, in my view, it's like they don't make westerns anymore. But out of the ones that are made, they're all bangers. Like,
no, those are the ones that you see.
I mean,
they make them all the time because they're easy to make.
I don't know.
Would you let me? Would you let me? Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've let you talk for like 10 minutes.
Oh, I don't know. It's just the format you came up with, so I don't know what the problem is with that. No, what I'm trying to say is, I think of westerns were a big staple in my house growing up, and so I think of the 40s and 50s as being like almost led by westerns. And there was a point in time when, it was the primary interest of America. It was like, we are interested in this. It is no longer that way, and that's just how culture has evolved since then. But anywho, that's what I mean when I say that. Westerns aren't big anymore, and but nevertheless, I like this movie to a score of 7 out of 10. I like this pretty good. The start really had me reeling, but it brought it back in with a lot of interesting concepts, and I ended up liking it a lot. So, what do you think, Bri?
Yeah, I agree. The start was really rough, and then it moved on to the middle, which was exactly the same, and then the ending, which was also very rough and annoying for me. Yeah, I hated this movie. I don't know. I just disagree with a lot of the points you made, like the characters being interesting, and like the characters are like so one-dimensional, and like it's almost like half-dimensional. If there's a half dimension, these characters would be that, because they're like Nic Cage is phoning it in. He's just there. But all of the other characters are kind of doing the same. It's like, I don't know what they're trying to do. Like, especially the villain. I don't know what he's trying to do with that character, but it's the least, like, menacing villain. I've seen in a Western, and it's just like, it felt like he was just reading off of a page most of the time and didn't know like what he was going for.
He
And
did
so
have
it's
an
like-
interesting way of delivering his lines. I'll say that.
I mean, a lot like the three main characters, which would be Nicolas Cage, the girl, and the villain. They're all like made it a point to have the least emoting that they could possibly do, and have just like a just just the most level reading of everything they had, with like no emotion going into it. And I'm like, I don't care about these people at all. Yeah, I'm confused. Like, when you say lackluster genre of modern westerns, like, what are the modern westerns that are lackluster to you? Like, what are the ones that hop out?
The genre is lacking. It's not a full or fruitful genre anymore. It is one that's kind of by the wayside in terms of
Right.
popular genres. You no longer think of what you don't even mention westerns. You go, do you like action movies? Or are you kind of more of a dramedy kind of guy? Horror? You never ask western. That's what I kind of mean. It's fallen out of favor with the zeitgeist.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of an entry into modern western, I would not say that this is a solid entry. Like, this is a pretty shaky at best entry into westerns, modern or of any era. Like, it's very cliche, which is like, bad guy comes, gets revenge, good guy gets revenge on bad guy. Like, and probably the thing that's the most annoying about this movie is it looks so cheap, and it's just boring visually. Like, that's one of the things about westerns, is showing the land and the vistas, and like getting these impressive shots of the landscape or the horse riding and all these things. Like, a solid half of this movie is just close-ups. It's just flat, straight on close-ups, and it was so distracting how unimaginative the directing was, especially for a western, to the point where it's like, it was obvious that they're limited by budget and we're trying to save money. Stuff like when they're at the campfire, you don't see the campfire. Like, it's because they're shooting from the neck up for everyone at the campfire. So it's obvious that it's just like a lighting effect. And they're like, nah, we can't waste time burning wood so it looks like interesting. Let's just put the fire effect on the LED light and shoot them in a close-up. So like, just visually it's very boring. The plot is very boring, and the acting is boring. Like, I was bored in this movie, and I can just think of almost any other western I've seen was better than this one. Like, not to belabor the point, but yeah, I'd give it like a 2 out of 10. This was a bad movie.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't like it. I don't. Yeah, it seems like you and I had totally different experiences, because none of that stood out to me at all. Like these, there were, now thinking back on it, yeah, there were a lot of close-up shots, and it was very obvious that this was a low-budget movie. But I just had that. I just had that in the back. I looked at this director, Brett Donahue. I looked at his catalog before I started this, and I was like, okay, so this guy's just kind of getting his legs under him in terms of you know, in terms of making movies, he's kind of a young, newish sort of fella. It's impressive that he got Clint Howard and Nic Cage in on this. So let's see what he's got, and I just kind of figured it was going to be a low budget. So maybe that helped temper my expectations or something like that. I mean, the really interesting part of this for me is the interpersonal story between Nic Cage, his daughter, and his now. Well, I'll get into that with the spoilers. I don't want to spoil that, but there's this lack of humanity that that Nick has, and his character has to wrestle with, and it's been inherited. His daughter has inherited that, and the way their characters play off of each other is interesting, and the conclusion is interesting and satisfying. The for me the bad guys, motives and how they intertwine with Nick's past is very fulfilling, and yeah, I agree that he is a strange actor. The bad guy does a very strange job, but that's part of kind of what's interesting about it. It's like, okay, what kind of choice is this? But yeah, it's too bad you didn't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the interesting stuff was like, yeah, some of the dialogue between Nic Cage and his daughter and the bad guy talking about, basically being dead inside and like not being able to, have humanity because of, how they are or their experiences. But that comes so late in the movie and is so like too little too late and is unearned for me. Like it's very much like, the adage of show don't tell. Like it just tells you, that it tells you what you're supposed to take away from it, from the dialogue. Like at the end of the movie, it's like, well, here's the point I was trying to make, but the movie preceding that does not do a convincing job of backing that up at all, to a confusing degree. But yeah, the themes and what they were trying to do with the characters in the movie are interesting. They just didn't make it interesting. Like there's a much better movie that could have been made with that concept, with a better script, a better director, better actors, better cinematographer. Better
Hard
set designer.
Disagree, but nevertheless, actually, one movie that I think about a lot, and we never talk about this, but you made us watch this movie called A Christmas Story, and I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? And I came in like a 2, and I was like, what the fuck is this? This is just And
A Christmas Story with like Ralphie?
Oh, A Christmas Horror Story. Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh.
Is it A Christmas Horror Story? Yeah. Had William Shatner in it. And I think about this all the time. I'm like, what did Bryce fucking see in that piece of shit? Because you're like, a 9. And I was like, goo. So, yeah, I mean, it just goes to show, like, I still don't understand. I still don't get it. And you'll probably won't understand how the old way works for me. It's just like, it's just one of these things where you're so different you can't even explain to the other person. You're like, no, but it worked because of, and you're like, I don't see it. It's just dumb. But
I gave that a 9.
you gave it a very high score. I can't recall, but you'd have to go back and listen to it, or I would, or one of the listeners might. You know, who knows?
Let's see.
Anyway,
I gave it an 8. Yeah, I don't remember it being terribly good. I think in that one the Santa versus whatever Krampus.
I'll tell you this:
the part that was fun.
we are not frequently this far apart. This is a huge upset in horror movie talk plus lineage and timeline. You can count on one or two hands the number of times that we've been 5 or more points apart. And so this is definitely, Bryce and I will have to fight after this or before or now. Yeah, we'll have to do some time travel. But if you don't want to have to do time travel and press that skip button, then what the fuck are you doing listening to this on the regular feed? This is the RSS feed. You want to be some shill, some little baby listener who has little baby ears, or do you want to be some fucking pro listener who doesn't have to listen to commercials, who gets their stuff or who gets the access to the episodes early, who supports a show that we put out for free for just the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month over on our patreon.com/horror movie talk. You got all kinds of perks. I mean, we really break out all the stops, and and it's a good way to keep the lights on over here at HMT. We got some interesting new fun things coming down the pipe, but we do need he's making the money sign. We do need that Danola to do it. Anyway, you can also support us by checking out the shop over at horrormovietalk.com/shop. We got shirts that we really need to. We need to get some new designs in on this puppy. We need to just pay somebody to do this shit for us because we're never going to do it. Also, check out our resident artist, the guy who works tirelessly for us all the time, Dustin Goebel, professional artist who fucks real hard. He also takes commissions for artwork from HMT fans. Contact him at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. Make your artistic dreams come true. Tell him we sent you. Call us at 682-253-4468. Thanks again for listening. And let's get into spoilers.
Oil me up, Daddy.
So, Bryce, were you impressed by the first 2 minutes of this movie where there was literally 7 or 8 studio credits? It was just they kept coming. I've never seen so many studio credits be like, we did this too. Also, we did this. Did you know Nic Cage is in this? We did this.
Yeah, the probably the one that was distracting me most was the Saban films, which I only associate with the Power Rangers.
Was what?
Saban films, Saban.
Yes.
I mean, they were the most recognizable one. I don't know if they do other. Let's see. Saban. They've done. Oh, I guess they do other stuff.
But mostly Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Right.
Lower budget, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I think even from the trailer, I watched the trailer, I was like, ooh, this looks rough. This looks like it's a low budget, straight to the red box type movie. And it is straight to streaming. So it's not, I guess, not that surprising, but yeah, there's a certain there's a certain budget level where you just have to pass it to like be not distracting, and this one does not pass. I was trying to look up what the budget for the movie was, and it's not published anywhere.
Before we get into the spoilers proper, I just want to say, so first of all, I'm going to have to clear my throat on occasion. I've been for 2 weeks now dealing with just tremendous upper respiratory bullshit. Last week, I called an audible because I couldn't make any audible sounds at all. I couldn't make any sounds come out of me. So you had to do the podcast with, oh boy, what was that gal's name?
Jordan.
She was so great.
Yeah.
Like, lovely. Just, I'm like, I was like, oh, wow, this woman's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, but I listened to the afterpod for that, and that was like, that was
confessional afterpod
so
with me alone.
It was 20 minutes of Bryce literally confessing his sins. or like his the things he felt guilty for,
right?
And there's something so deeply that connect, like anybody listening to that is going to be like, yeah, I know, I'm with, like, oh, like, I don't feel bad about me,
Yeah, thank you. I'm a piece of shit as well.
No, like, it was brilliant. I mean, it was if you're a Patreon member, listen to last week's afterpod of the Boogeyman afterpod, because wow. Yeah, how did that hit you? I would, like, at the end I was like, dude, is Bryce going to be okay? How were you after that?
Oh, well, that's just what's going through my head at all times, really. No, I kind of had flashbacks to the Bye Bye Man reviews where it was just us alone. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's just, I don't know. It just felt awkward because there's no one else to take the slack, and so it's like, what do I say now? You just have stream of consciousness, and my stream of consciousness is usually depressive and
I'm sorry
and filled with regrets. So no, it was fine.
All right.
I mean, it's honestly not that dissimilar from other afterpods where both of us are doing kind of that.
I definitely disagree. That was very different. The subject matter was different. Yeah,
I'd have to go back and listen to it. It probably would be too cringy for me to listen to it again, but yeah.
Well, I thought it was gold. I was riveted throughout. I felt good for you. I felt bad for you. I felt feelings mostly.
Okay.
Yeah. Anywho, back to the old way. It has a lot of fucking cliches. These first 20 minutes, the first act of the 3 acts, bad. Simply put, very, very bad. It does a good job of setting the scene. But
so I'm curious, what makes it bad for you? What in the first act makes it bad?
Oh, there's so much. Oh, man.
Because everything in the first act that I didn't like was the same things that I didn't like for the second and third act.
There's so much that was bad in the first act. The dialogue was, from everyone, was just stilted, awkward. I think the thing that really stood out, that was like the standout, this is terrible, was Nic Cage's dialogue with his wife, where he explains how much he likes to look at her. And And I was just like, this is some fucking weird. I don't know what this is, but it is not good. Where he was like, I like to look at you. And she's like, I know you do. You like the way I raise your daughter? And he was like, oh yeah, I love the way you raise that bitch. And then she was like, you like to watch me do clothes? He's like, I like to watch just about everything you do. I think I'd like to watch your turd cutter clip a turd off in that outhouse out back. And it's like, okay, can we, what is, like, it was just, there, it was bad. It was really bad. Like, I was like, both Carrie and I were like, ooh, what's happening? This is terrible. And his acting was, shockingly, it was strange acting that, I mean, Nic Cage is known for his weird acting, but this was not ha-ha funny, it was bad. But it felt like the direction was to blame a little bit, where he was walking with his kid to his shop, and he was just so distant. Like, he was not just distant, just cruel, just hated his child. And that felt unbelievable. Like, just like, okay, like how's any of this work? But yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, same kind of deal. Like, it's, I mean, I'll say, like, this is in the genre of Nic Cage movies where he's just cashing a paycheck. Like, he'll do anything. Like, so I mean, when you say, like, I can't believe they got Nic Cage and Clint Howard, I'm like, it's not hard to get either one of those people. Like, you know how many movies Nic Cage does in a year? It's astounding. It's like,
well, now he does. Yeah, I mean, but
well,
that
for
really
the past decade, pretty much, he's done low budget movies like this. Like, he's like I think he does these just so that he, can keep doing, like, the interesting ones like Pig and not worry about, getting a giant paycheck at any time. But yeah, I mean, you look at this and see how much effort he's putting into it, or thought, and it's like, no, he just showed up on set, I think. I think he, like, showed up on set and read the lines before each scene and was like, I'm taciturn, man. And that's as much as...
What does taciturn mean?
Emotionless. Taciturn.
I feel like
reserved or uncommunicative in speech, saying little. Like, it's very...
I feel like this is a common segment on Horror Movie Talk Plus where you say a word and then I say, explain.
Right.
I think that is a through line.
We should do a supercut. We should do a supercut of any time that David says, what does that mean?
Well, I don't have so much pride that I'm not willing to admit when I don't know what something means.
Yeah.
I'm very humble.
You're well read, though. You have a good vocabulary.
But I don't know what taciturn means. Sure. I'm well read, but I don't know what I don't. I mean, I guess taciturn. There are some words that give you a feeling,
right? And
taciturn gives you you're like, I understood what you meant.
Right.
I've just never heard it defined,
Right. Yeah. So there's that, like, and I think pretty much, I think the major drawback of this movie, and what's, like, most distracting about it, is that this movie is just stealing from much better movies in terms of, like, the main chunks of it. Like, the I mean, it's a straight up ripoff of True Grit, with the dynamic between Nicolas Cage and his daughter, like, just having the old and young, and also Unforgiven, where it's just like, oh, he's a homesteader now. It's like, and he's coming back and, like, reliving his, more violent life in his old age. It's like, yeah, but those movies were really, really good. And so it's distracting to be like, if you're going to rip it off, why not like rip off the things that make it good too, you know? And I think part of it, it's like you're being told that what's his name? Buster Scruggs or whatever. Colton Briggs. You're told that Colton Briggs is this like this murderer, and that he's become something else. But like you're never shown that he has like humanity, you know. And I guess that's, I mean,
he doesn't.
They're not trying to say that he has humanity, but then they do. Like it's confusing because they're like,
when do they do that?
Because he cries when he's talking about losing his wife in like the third act, and you're like, oh, so he does have humanity,
right?
It's like, okay, so why wouldn't you show that in the first act? Like, show him being a normal person, and it'd be much more interesting to see him, like, to show a loving family and like a normal life, and then have him turn back into the emotionless killer.
Because he doesn't have, like, he's not, because he's not like okay.
Well, yeah. So here's how they set it up. They say Nic Cage, I don't know. His character says, like, I never knew how to act around people or to show emotion because I never felt it. They're basically saying, like, I'm autistic and I had to mirror what I saw around me. And then it shows him saying, like, I never felt fear or anything until I met your mother. And then he breaks down crying and showing that, oh, he does have emotions and humanity, and he learned that after he married his wife, and you're like, okay, so do you not have emotions around these things? You know, it's a mixed message.
It feels so clear to me. Like, no, this is a man who his whole life was, you know, because of the life that he chose of crime and murder, was placed in situations where he saw fear in others and should have been fearful himself, but never experienced specifically fear. Like it was and he kept saying it was as though he was born dead inside. And so he just felt, unhuman, inhuman. He felt like, like a chameleon, or like something that didn't fit. And then, the missing puzzle piece to all that was, oh, whoa, all of a sudden, when I met your mom, I felt that it was the puzzle piece that that made me human. And then when his wife was killed, that puzzle piece was removed. It was no longer there, and he no longer felt that connection to those to humanity anymore. He was, and so like this is the piece that makes things work, and they took the piece away from me. So now I have to, and by the way, child, you're just like me. Like there's, they explain that that the kid is like similarly confused by emotion, incapable of understanding how crying might work, or fear. Like also similarly, just basically her dad's daughter, and so this is like two kind of sociopaths teaching, the father teaching the daughter, hey, you're fucked up and you got to learn how to up here, not fucked up. And hopefully you'll find that puzzle piece like I did that can help you, feel connected to your humanity.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my problem is that they tell and not show any of that. Like, that's, like, especially with the daughter, where, like, they have to have the dialogue of the marshal say, like, she didn't cry at all. That's weird. And, like, before that, you just don't even, they don't show any interaction that seems off to the audience. It's just like,
well, it seemed off to me. Like, I was watching her sit in a rocking chair with her mother being buried in the background, and she was just sitting there listening. I understood that it was strange.
Yeah, it wasn't enough for me. Like, because everything up to that point is like, you're just giving nothing.
Well, it was literally show and don't tell. It was doing the thing that you claim it didn't do.
Yeah, but like, what you would do in a circumstance like that is, like, have the marshal say, like, oh, Sweet Pea, do you want to put any, flowers or say something on your mother's grave, and just have her say, no. That would have been like, oh, that's
so
a
you want them
weird
to
response.
tell and not show.
No, that's showing a reaction, not showing a lack of anything. It's just like,
but they were showing a lack of reaction. That's what they were showing.
But it's not a good enough movie for you to understand that that's intentional and not just them being lazy.
Then why did I have the bowl, Bart? Why did I have the bowl? It made sense to me, is what I'm trying to say.
And then there's other stuff where it's like the actions that they have are just confusing because, like, it's not explained or it doesn't make... So, like, okay, so after they bury the mother and after Colton Briggs decides to, suit up again and go hunt and murder, he climbs up the ladder and is going to shoot his daughter?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because he's got to go get revenge. He's got to go, settle the score. And he doesn't want to have to bring this person who he feels basically nothing for, his child, along with him.
So he's going to murder her before he leaves?
Again, I don't know if this is a good thing that this made total sense to me. I'm just saying it made total sense to me. I was like, yeah, he doesn't want, he feels a responsibility to the Rugrat, but he's got bigger fish to fry and he's done with it. So the responsibility is put her down.
And then at the end of the movie, he says he loves her.
Well, yeah, that's the story of the movie.
So he developed love for her through this story?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It's so, like, that scene is such a non sequitur of, like, I'm going to murder you. And
here it is. Bryce is not autistic enough to understand this movie. You're too in touch with your humanity.
No, I mean, even someone that's a sociopath would just leave them. It's like,
Well, I said autistic, not sociopath. Let's not.
Even someone autistic would just leave them or, like, stop by,
Yeah, but he's
the
a
corner
cold-blooded.
store and be like,
he's a cold-blooded murderer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing is, like, it's not clear whether he was a criminal. I don't know, maybe it was clear. Like, he was a gun slinger, but it sounded like he was more of a hired gun than actually going out and doing crime, So I don't know, but that
feels like splitting hairs to me a little bit. But I mean, it's kind of like.
Well, it's the Old West, so, like, people shooting each other is normal back then. So yeah, I mean, just like the character things, like with Colton Briggs and the daughter, like, I felt like they had to tell me what I was supposed to think about it, rather than show me, like, circumstances or situations in which they display their personality. Like it just wasn't good enough for me. And again, it's shot so flat. Like the direction is so flat where it's like to the point where like, are they going for a thing? Like, are they trying to do a Wes Anderson thing where people are emotionless in front of a flat shot, and so you're supposed to like, you know, interpret it as like a hipster decision versus like what's actually being shown to you. So I don't know. So I mean the movie is really basic. Like it's a very, very simple story, which is like guy, he used to be a gunslinger, now he has a family, and it's like John Wick. They killed his wife, you know, instead of his dog, and now they've unlocked the beast, and he's gonna go hunt him down. And he does. That's it. There's nothing else. Nothing else happens. Like, there's not, like, interesting characters along the way. There's not, like, setbacks.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is I'm not going to argue. It is a super basic movie, but
there's not even, even, like, in the genre, there's, like, tropes that are really, really interesting and useful to use in a chase movie, which is, like, you know, stuff around tracking or seeing them in the distance and like having a, you know, kind of chase over a long period of time. And again, it's like, it's all tell, don't show. It's like, they're out there, we'll get to them. And then they get to them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it feel like you I feel like you think I'm arguing with you about that stuff. I'm not. It is simple. There are simple movies that work because they're simple. I mean, then for me, this is the example of that. Look, John Wick. Every movie starring Qui-Gon Jinn, where he goes and chases people down. Are they the best movies ever made? No, but it's a simple premise and it's executed in a simple way. And the part of this movie that that I find enjoyable is the interpersonal, relationship between Nic Cage and his humanity, his daughter who has inherited his lack of humanity, his wife who was his muse, and the bad guy who, by the way, Nic Cage killed his father, right? So that's so there's revenge in multiple different, it is established at the start. Let's go. I'm gonna like throw out the bones of this movie here real quick. At the start of the movie, we're given like the past 20 years ago. Nic Cage is a badass. He's a gunslinger. Maybe not a badass. He's just a bad boy, a bad guy. He kills people, and in a shootout, he ends up killing this fella in front of that fella's son. Right in front of him. I mean, under duress, like he killed him at the point of a gun, but nevertheless. Fast forward 20 years, Nic Cage has a family. He's got his wife, who he loves to look at, and his daughter, who he apparently has no feeling at all for, and a job as like a mercantile owner. And some jackbooted thugs break down his door while he's gone, kill his wife, and they're on the run from the law anyway, so they skedaddle. And thus starts the some would say, lackluster chase. Actually, no, the chase is not really the focus of the whole thing. I mean, it's the journey that is gone on, but it's definitely not where the action occurs in this movie. Anywho, so along the way, Nic Cage begrudgingly brings his daughter and they learn about each other, and she learns that, hey, he's like, hey, you don't have the norm, you're not a normal person, me person, bad. So you got to learn to act like a normal person, or else you're going to have a real hard time in life. They become partners in crime, so to speak, and then catch up to the thugs and have a shootout. And it appears as though the bad guy, who is the kid from the start, who saw his dad murdered in cold blood, it appears as though he kills Nic Cage, and he actually does. He gets revenge on Nic for the killing of his father, but Nic Cage's daughter pulls his revolver and shoots him. So it's like this, it's like this whole, whoa, everybody's getting revenge on everybody sort of thing. So that's the bones of the movie. Clint Howard is one of the jackbooted thugs, the bad guys, who's wearing a Southern Union? Yeah.
Confederate.
Thank you. A Confederate
the oldest
outfit.
Confederate soldier in the world.
Yeah. I don't know, though. History, not, like, I don't have a good idea of years. Anywho, that's the whole thing. And to me, the interesting part is all the intrapersonal stuff where, Nic Cage begrudgingly has to teach his daughter and then becomes attached to her, because it's established, although oddly, at the start, that he doesn't feel anything for his daughter. Like at the beginning of this movie, he's like, I don't care about you. I could even kill you. And then goes on this quest to avenge his wife's death, and dies in the process, but hopefully has passed along to his daughter the key to being, a normal person. Yeah, so that's kind of the through line. The interesting part, like I said, is the part where, the bad guy is getting revenge on Nic, and Nic's daughter gets revenge on the bad guy, and Nic kind of, becomes more fleshed out as a person because of this journey, and has lost this puzzle piece that had made him human, and that's kind of interesting to me. That's where I would watch it again.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, for me, it was all very obvious. It was like, I know exactly what they're going to do, with this movie, and they just do it. There's no surprises, and they take their time doing it. Like, holy cow. Like, a lot of the shots.
I felt like this thing flew by.
Man, well, I mean, like, there's not much going on, and so, like, the scenes, like, they're very basic. They're like, they're going to establish this one thing, and they establish it, and then just keep establishing it, and keep saying it over and over again, and dwell, and then move on. Like, it's not egregious, but it's noticeable. And it's such a simple movie where it's like, you could have taken your time, set up a new shot, like done something more interesting, added an interaction. It's like, nope, just gonna show her sorting jelly beans for a good 3 minutes, cause got to make sure everyone knows she's autistic or something. It's like, okay. Not a big fan of the movie, but that much is obvious now. Like, I mean, I've watched like a lot of, like, there are some really good westerns and like neo westerns that are just like watch Yellowstone, watch like all the stuff around everything that Taylor Sheridan has made. Just watch that. It's infinitely more interesting, infinitely more well-crafted. And it's just as simple in terms of like plot. It's just the characters are more interesting. The cinematography and directing is more interesting. The dialogue is more interesting. Like, yeah, watch Tyler Sheridan movies. or Taylor Sheridan movies, watch like There Will Be Blood and No Country for Old Men, Unforgiven. Yeah, pretty much anything.
Yeah, I agree.
This.
Watch all those things. Also, watch this because it's pretty good.
Sure.
So all right. So who would you recommend this movie to?
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. Be
You
like,
would say, don't watch this.
don't watch it. Go watch another Nic Cage movie if you like Nic Cage. Go watch True Grit or Unforgiven if you want to see this story.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is interesting and adds a new element to things that that I didn't know I wanted to see, but now I realize I do. And the choices are interesting in and of themselves, whether they be bad or good. And you can definitely see when they're bad. And I would argue I really appreciated the ones that I thought were good.
I think the thing with like a low budget movie is like the choices are made for them, and what's impressive is if the choices they make with a low budget like make it seem like it's not a low budget movie, you know? Like a lot of the shots and a lot of the choices with like the depth and of the movie is like, oh, well, that's dictated by they just don't have time. They don't have time to rewrite or set up different shots. They don't have time to really delve into these characters. They're getting it out there. But then there's like low budget movies where it's like they work within the framework in innovative ways that make you be like, oh yeah, it was always meant to be this way, you know? It's not being dictated by outside forces.
Well, there you go. I'm gonna play the Whores intro, and then I'm gonna share something with y'all that I just love a lot, and then we'll play your voicemails. And if you want to give us a call, actually, let me play this. Whores is a little segment where we play your voicemails. You got to call us at 682-253-4468. You do so, we take your calls. But first I'm going to play just the most delightful. If you're on YouTube, you should. If you're not on YouTube, you should be. You can see our ugly mugs over there, but also you get to see this little chihuahua who I love. His little Gizzy. Is his little Gizzy. Here we go.
Brace off. What do you have to say to your fans?
She's so happy.
You appreciate all the donations?
So happy.
You ready to get that brace off? What do you have to say to your fans?
Play another one.
What's that?
Play another one.
You want to see a different one?
Yeah, the ones with the neck braces are
You
the
appreciate
best.
all the
Oh,
donations?
yeah. This teeny,
You ready to get that-
weeny, little bitty chihuahua that's got this big old neck brace on and has a tongue hanging out the side of his mouth is just the cutest. Here we go. Oh, is this the wrong? This is the wrong one. I got to share a different screen here because for some reason it took me out when I had to do that. Queen Chi. Here you go.
You love your treats. God, so aggressive. You love your treats.
Look at the tongue.
God, so aggressive.
It's the little arms going up
Yeah.
when he's laying down on the ground.
Yeah. Hey.
Oh. You. Hey, you want a treat? She's all over me today. I'm Yes, baby. Oh,
I love her. I love this doggle.
they're calling you
Oh,
This
Ugandan
one looks
Knuckles.
promising.
What do you think about that?
Buffering.
Do you agree? They're calling you Ugandan Knuckles. What do you think about that? Do you agree? They're
Okay. All right, that's enough of that. Let's get to your calls.
Hey, it's Robert the Farter. I was listening to your horrors segment, Volume 7, and a lot of people were leaving recommendations for comedy movies because you reviewed Dumb and Dumber. So I had a couple for you guys. So I'm guessing you've probably, since you guys love Jim Carrey, I'm guessing you've probably seen The Cable Guy, and I know that a lot of people hate that because when that movie first came out, a lot of people didn't like it. But I'm a fan of dark comedies, so I really like Cable Guy. And then my all-time favorite comedy movie, besides Ernest Scared Stupid, which it's kind of rare. You might know what it is, but it's called UHF, and it's Weird Al, and it's really good. So check that out. Anyways, it's Robert the Farter.
Yeah, breaking out those comedy recommendations, those recs. Yeah, we know Cable Guy. We know UHF.
Yeah, UHF. I mean, UHF, granted, it is a cult movie, but it's like our generation.
Oh,
like I think everyone saw UHF.
Look at me. Do you think I don't know everything that Weird Al did? Do you see? Do you see what's going on here? Like, I know. I've been
get to drink from the fire hose.
way before Kramer became deleted. Yeah, they deleted Kramer.
Yeah, pre-Kramer.
Yeah, pre-Kramer.
Okay.
Kramer.
Hi, it's Beyond the Grave. I heard Sam from Minneapolis talk about that damn Air Bud. When I saw it, I thought, oh, that's weird. Why would they make a mistake and forget to type in Bud after Air? Which it sounds like you should have just did a review of that movie because you hated it. You had Sleeper Cell David and Comrade Bryce over here talking about, when I was child, I wait we not have Nike shoes. We have Italia, and I wait 3 days, and I was happy to have the shoes. That's the real story. You should be telling the viewers. But if you want to get on this, like, every week we're going to help somebody, you could just pull something and, like, take one of your kids to the hospital and be like, this child's parents can't afford Lactaid to give their kids when, they eat too much ice cream, and we're going to help them today, but you're not really paying for anything. You're just billing your insurance. And then you could just be like, we spent $250,000 on this kid, but our copay was like $20.
Good ideas. They should remake Air, tell the exact same story except replace Michael Jordan with Air Bud.
With the dog. Yeah, just because all you get in Air is like a back shot of Michael Jordan's head, but it could just be like be the back of a dog's head. Yeah, and then the ears go. Whoop. Like, we're prepared to offer you. I kind of want to hang out with Beyond the Grave. You know what I mean?
Are a good boy.
He might be the goodest boy of all time.
Yeah, that'd be great if Mr. Beast just like started billing his insurance for helping people,
Yeah.
Or just showed people how to bill their own insurance. Just be like, okay,
yeah,
you're blind? Well, here's how you sign up for Medicaid.
Yeah, that's some real... Actually, that's the fucking Lord's work right there. That's something not a lot of people know how to do.
Yeah, we're all the social workers getting millions of views, huh?
You know what I'm saying?
Hi guys, my name is Beatrice. I currently live in Los Angeles, and I've been listening to Horror Movie Talk Plus for a few weeks now. And it's kind of funny how it first started because I got a new job, can't really be on my phone, can't read, can't really, I have a lot of downtime. It's a, pretty typical office job. Not a lot of interaction with my coworkers anyways. And so I'm like, how can I pass time on, just do something? And I had saved a bunch of podcasts on Spotify, and for some reason you guys are lucky ones. And because I've never really been in the podcast, I like YouTube videos, which I do follow you guys on YouTube. And the first episode I listened to was for Evil Dead Rises, which I'd seen with my sister in the movies that prior weekend. And, I think I was hooked because I was like, you guys are just spot on, like with the movie reviews, very analytic, but just funny, like that. This was my kind of humor. I love South Park, Family Guy. So just, I'm into that, like, raunchy, dick jokes, all that. Like, I love your guys' sense of humor. And, my favorite episodes have been, the Human Centipede, which I've seen all three of them. And, but I really, I laugh, and it's like, sometimes I'm like at work, I have my AirPods in, I'm just like, I can't, just bust out laughing like I want to. I need to contain myself. So the Human Centipede, episode, that was really funny and good. And then I also really liked your guys' dash cam, episode. So cool how you got to talk with Annie Hardy. And I loved that movie. I don't understand why it got, like, ripped on the internet, on IMDb. Like, people were like, oh, she's so annoying, her character. And I was like, I want to be her. I really, I started following her on all social media. And then that last bit on Dashcam with her, like, just rapping, like, and freestyling, like, I would buy that on iTunes or download it somehow if I could. But yeah, you guys are great. Gives me a little, brings a little light and joy to my day just to laugh. And I don't listen to any of the episodes that I've yet to watch movies for. So.
And then she got cut off.
She got cut off. Beatrice, thank you for all the kind words of praise. That's very nice of you. Yeah.
And I think she's a patron too. I think she signed up to be on Patreon.
So. Which actually reminds me, I would like to right now take a moment and thank our new patrons for signing up. Number one, Beatrice, also Amanda M, and Darren P. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Yeah, what do you got to say?
No, I'm glad she found us. Yeah, the Evil Dead Rises was a good episode. Rob Savage, that directed Dashcam, he was the director of The Boogeyman, last week's episode.
Yes. Yeah. Did it live up to Dashcam? Would you say? Sounds like a no. Sounds like a no.
No, I mean it.
But
like,
Jordan
I
might think so.
The analogy I gave it was, it's like if Carrot Top was doing stand-up and he didn't have his props, he'd probably do okay. Yeah. He'd do okay. Like, he's still a comedian. He still has the chops. But when you get rid of your gimmick, and in Rob Savage's case, it's found footage and, like, using that kind of, format to tell a story, like, you kind of take away their strong suit. And that was kind of obvious in The Boogeyman. But it had other issues too.
I'll say this, Beatrice. If you got that urge to laugh, let it out. Don't be like, don't like hold that shit in. Just be like, woo! People just that's Bryce in movie theaters. I'm not fucking joking. Like, the movie theater will be silent. Something funny will happen. Something will hit Bryce just right, and he'll be like, ha, 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 and you'll be like, oh my God. Everybody in the movie theater will like, whoa, jump. He is full of joy, and there's something infectious about that. It's delightful.
Well, I mean, when you're at work, you see, there's dangers. It's like, oh, if I was to laugh out loud at work and someone was to ask me, like, what are you laughing at? It's like, oh, I just watched a TikTok where a guy got cut in half. It's like, oh, first of all, what is wrong with you? Second of all, why are you watching TikTok at work?
I don't.
You know, I get it.
No. First off, why are you watching TikTok at work?
Next caller.
Hi, this is Glittercore from Colorado. I love the podcast. You guys are absolutely great, and I love listening to you anytime I'm doing anything boring, like shaving my labia. I just wanted to say that keep up the great work, and you guys are really great. And fuck you, Bryce, because every time I listen to the podcast, you say something funny, and this time while I was shaving my labia and you said something funny, I freaking dropped the razor and it fucking shredded my labia. I had to buy a new labia, so fuck you, Bryce, for saying something funny all the time. Keep up the great work. I'm on the mend, and I love you guys, and keep up the great work. And I love you, and keep up the great work. All right, bye.
I feel like a record skipped there at the end. I guess mine would too if I hurt my labia. Fuck.
Well, she says she had to buy a replacement labia. I mean, here's the thing. Glittercore is famous for saying she's got big tits and a tiny vagina. So we can rest assured that there probably wasn't that much damage to the labia since she has such a tiny vagina.
That's also probably why it was difficult to do.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll say this.
I guess that's not the vagina would be the internal, like labia is outside. She doesn't say
there's the outer labia and the inner.
Well, no, but the vagina is the canal.
The labia majora.
The labia. Yeah, I mean.
Listen, I'll say this. I don't know.
I mean, we got to get Glittercore back on the phone now because we got to find out. Like when she says she has a tiny vagina, does that mean she has tiny labia as well?
It's all comprised of this. The vagina describes all of your lack of understanding of the female anatomy.
No, that's ignorant. You're being ignorant.
No, you're literally. You are.
If you want to talk about
there's the canal.
terms,
yes, there's the canal, but that's what you're confusing with the vagina. The vagina describes a system.
No, the word you're looking for is pussy.
I'll say this. Bryce's lack of understanding of the female anatomy notwithstanding, I don't know what any of you ladies are doing, taking sharp objects to your genitals. For who? Like.
Okay, let's look up.
Give us a big
Cleveland
bushy
clinic. Your vagina is a stretchy, muscular canal.
And what are the parts of that? What are the parts that comprise that?
Your labia is not part of the canal. That's the outer. That's
not a vulva.
Flaps of skin.
I will say this: don't be taking. Let it grow. Don't be taking a bunch of sharp bullshit to near your genitals. That's ridiculous. And who are you trying to impress? And why would they be impressed by that? Big bush. That's what I'm saying. What do you think, Bryce?
I think the world is big enough for all lengths of pubic hair. And, you do you. Whatever you want to do, whatever you and your husband decide is the best choice.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
But be careful. Just take precautions. When you're shaving your labia, maybe press pause for the 2 minutes it takes to get all around there, and then when you're getting up to the pubis area, the pubic bone area, then let it rip. Let the podcast rip. Anyways, we're getting distracted. I'm getting distracted by labia. Let's move on.
Hey guys, it's Elizabeth. I'm just here to ask if you have or are planning on playing the Outlast Trials. It's $30 on Steam right now, and I've been playing it for the last week or so since it came out last week. It is the most fun I've had in a very long time. If you are a huge fan of the first one, for anyone listening, 1 and 2, it's definitely up your alley. It's just, I don't know, it's just so much fun. I really can't explain it. I don't want to spoil it, but it's so messed up, but it's a ton of fun. Not very scary, I will say. It's more like stealth than anything. There's a few jump scares, but not really. It's Dead by Daylight style, so it's 4 people, or you can do less than 4, but versus an AI killer, it's just, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. It's in early access right now, so they're definitely going to be adding to it. But yeah, I could not recommend this game enough to anyone who likes movies like Hostel, Saw. This is like right up your alley. It's amazing. All right, later.
What was the name of the game she's talking about?
Hey guys, it's Elizabeth. I'm just here to ask if you have or are planning on playing the Outlast Trials.
The LS Trials?
Yeah, I can't find it.
Well, Elizabeth, now you have to, come back and
Trials.
I think it's this.
Oh, Outlast Trials. Outlast Trials.
Oh, I do not like the Outlast games. They are very scary. That's spooky. Okay. I don't like it. It's there's a difference. Like, I'm not into watching horror anymore, as y'all know. But I've never been able to play legitimately scary games. It's just too much for me. I've never been able to, even with somebody in the room, like being like, "It's okay." I'm like, I
mean, we did do the Twitch stream where you played.
That Silent Hill. Yeah, whatever that was.
That was great.
Fucking
it was,
so.
It was gold.
Jeez. Okay, one more. Let's get one more in here. Thanks for these
suggestions. This is Dustin from Syracuse, New York. I'm sitting on break right now. I've been a listener for quite a few years now. I'm just wondering with David Day, man, it's really sad that you don't like horror anymore, especially from a horror enthusiast, that watches.
Sorry, I just have to point out that in the transcript in Google Voice, he says, "I'm sad you don't like," and then it goes
whore.
W asterisk 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 because it's blocking out whore, which is
accurate.
The point. That's why. Okay.
Anything from technically Gremlins to Serbian film and guinea pig series, stuff like that. I was wondering is that since you're done watching horror movies, and by the looks of it, through the past weeks, you guys are having guests and stuff on. Would you guys just end up folding horror movie talk and then just remaking a new brand? Like, sometimes people come and go out of, podcasts and other things like that, and sometimes things change. So would you guys rather just, fold horror movie talk and just make it movie talk instead of horror movie talk plus, and then just have like horror movie talk its own entity, but, like an umbrella company, and then have, say movie talk or whatever as like the new branch of it. But, if you ever decide to go back to watch horror movies, you can do that. Another thing too is that, you're a fellow metalhead as well. And, listening to lyrics like Metallica and, Lamb of God and stuff like that, Lay the Rest is, like Suicide, stuff like that. Does that mean like, you don't listen to metal music anymore because it's technically in the same realm as horror movies? It's just you listen to it and have the feeling of it instead of other horror movies. That's one thing I would have liked to ask as well. But yeah, it was just an idea or a proposal or whatever. See you guys.
Yeah, I think. I mean, the answer to that is, this was May 24th, so I don't know. Maybe that the answer to that has already been answered just by virtue of, we have rebranded. We're now Horror Movie Talk Plus. We cover horror movies a decent amount of the time, but then also, we cover other movies. I don't hate horror. I'm just done with it. I feel like I've seen so much of it from the Guinea Pig series to Gremlins, my whole life, all this bullshit. I don't feel like it's adding something good to my life anymore. I feel bad when I watch it sometimes, and you know, there are movies that I will go back to because I enjoy a lot. Like I could see watching Evil Dead 2 just for nostalgia's sake, you know. Gremlins, obviously, that kind of thing. I just don't need. I don't need to be put in a weird kind of negative headspace anymore, and I've noticed that lately horror has been doing that to me. So I'm just not gonna partake in something that, you know, makes me feel bad. Just like, you know, if you notice, you know, that you have you're made to feel bad after you drink alcohol, you stop drinking alcohol, you know. It's just the same kind of thing. And so it's just a, you know, keeping my head clean sort of decision for me. And then, good question in terms of metal. I still listen to metal, although a lot less. It doesn't really feel the same. It's not really the same. It's kind of compares apples to oranges, kind of, you know. Like, yes, a lot of times the themes within are questionable, but I've never listened to metal for the lyrics, ever. It's a sonic experience for me. It's entirely audio. So it doesn't really hit quite the same, although it is kind of in the same realm. And a lot of stuff, you know, definitely some of the more extreme stuff I won't listen to anymore because it brings me to a bad place. You know, there's bands like Fluids, Mortician, that I don't really need anymore. Although sometimes the sonic experience is still very enjoyable. So, and it doesn't bring me into a weird negative headspace. So basically, if something puts me in a headspace where I don't want to be, I'm just not doing it so much anymore. And I've been going through Michael Jackson's, the past 2 days I've been going through Michael Jackson's. I've been doing a lot of this, like sampling other stuff, going through his catalog. So I don't know. What do you? Did I do an okay job of answering any of that, Bryce? Like, did I leave anything out?
No. I mean, I think we'll probably have to continue talking about this because we've talked about it in the last month's worth of episodes, like what the rationale and stuff behind, going Horror Movie Talk Plus versus stopping Horror Movie Talk and starting a new brand. I think it's obviously a middle ground, and there's some people that don't like it. Some people that are not listening to the podcast anymore, I suppose. But we're keeping it going. We're doing about half and half. So, I mean, just if you don't like the non-horror movie episodes, just don't listen to them and just act like Horror Movie Talk is a bi-weekly show now, because we're going about half and half anyway, so not a lot has changed.
I hope y'all enjoy it's the back and forth between Bryce and I, and hopefully we can, this will help bring a new genre or a couple of genres of movies into your life, because who just watches one thing? I mean, there are people out there that do that. I don't know who they are, but I guess they wouldn't be interested in this. But I don't know. Like this week, I was kind of thinking about watching the new Avatar. So like that, it was between this and Avatar, and quite frankly, I didn't want to sit for 3 hours and watch a movie, so this was a better option for me. Anywho, in that case, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great week. We love you very much. Support us. Thank you for supporting us, I should say. Be careful when, going near your genitals with sharp objects. And have a fabulous week, and we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing. Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is. I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
Didn't sound good.